Welcome to this Spokane Housing Market update. It's January 2024. In this video, I'm going to bring you the news and data that you need to know without any of the nonsense fluff or clickbait headlines. My name is Phil Wells. I'm a Spokane real estate agent who takes the time to keep up to date with the market, and I want you to be as informed as possible too. In this video, we're going to start by getting a national picture of what's been happening. We're going to look at national pending home sales. We're going to look at mortgage rates, mortgage application rates, and national median home prices. We'll then compare and contrast what's been happening nationally to what's been happening locally here in our market too. After that, I want to look at some news articles that have stood out to me, both national and local news articles. And at the very end of this video, I have some critical information for Spokane landlords. So let's get into it. Looking first at the most recent data that we have detailing national pending home sales from November. Contract signings were completely flat on a month-over-month basis in November, but the figure that we actually care about, the year-over-year figure, shows contract signings declined 5.2%. That represents 30 consecutive months of year-over-year sales declines. I am taking that as good news. Those are the lowest numbers in terms of year-over-year sales declines that I've seen for a long time. Here's what the National Association of Realtors chief economist had to say about November's pending home sales. Although declining mortgage rates did not induce more home buyers to submit formal contracts in November, it has sparked a surge in interest as evidenced by the higher number of lockbox openings. With mortgage rates falling further in December, leading to savings of around $300 a month from the recent cycle peak in rates, home sales will improve in 2024. So no ifs, no buts there. This economist is clear, home sales will improve in 2024. And that just makes sense. These high mortgage rates that we've been seeing for the last year or so have had the effect of delaying demand. Let's move on to look at mortgage rates. Obviously, the majority of people buy a home with the aid of a mortgage, so let's check in and see what mortgage rates have been doing, as that gives us a pretty good insight into what direction buyer demand is going to be heading in. Sticking with November for a second so we can really analyze that period in time. Mortgage rates at the start of November were at 7.69%, and by the end of November, they were at 7.15%. Rates have since continued their steady decline to where they are today at 6.74%. Remember, it was only a couple of months ago that we were reporting that mortgage rates had broken through the 8% barrier. So to see them 1.25% lower in only 2 months is really good news. And remember, the Federal Reserve hasn't actually adjusted its base rate just yet. So I predict when that Federal Reserve base rate does eventually come back down, these mortgage rates are going to tumble. And I hate to say it for those long-suffering buyers out there, but competition is going to come back in a big way. Let's continue with mortgages and look at mortgage application rates. This is exactly what it sounds like. We need to understand how many people are actually applying for mortgages. These figures don't have a delay. They're actually reported weekly, so we can get a really good up-to-date impression of which direction the mortgage market is heading in. As you would imagine, as mortgage rates declined in November and into December, mortgage application rates picked up. We did see some declines around the Christmas period, but that's to be expected and doesn't change the trend that more people are applying for mortgages right now. It's important not to lose sight of the fact that high mortgage rates are not the only issue in the housing market right now. Inventory has been low and remains low. A recent report by Axios suggests we are 3.2 million homes short across the nation. Low inventory is flying under the radar of the national news media because high interest rates are the biggest story. But when those interest rates do come back down, low inventory is going to come back in a big way. Now let's take a look at national median home prices. National median home prices in November were at $408,000, which is actually up 3.6% on a year-over-year basis. To me, home prices continue to be remarkable. Everything has been pointing to them declining the last year, but they just haven't been. They've actually been rising on a marginal basis. It just goes to show that real estate is a phenomenally resilient investment and is a great inflation hedge too. It also means that it's uphill from here, in my view, in terms of home prices. Home prices aren't going to decline as mortgage rates drop because homes themselves are going to become more affordable. So let's summarize the national market as we see it in January 2024. We're currently sat at 30 consecutive months of year-over-year sales declines, but the trend is upwards. As the National Association of Realtors chief economist said, home sales will improve in 2024. Mortgage rates are declining. They're down 1.25% from their highs only a couple of months ago. We have encouraging news that there are still buyers waiting on the sidelines because we've seen an uptick in terms of mortgage application rates. Home prices continue to climb and they show no signs of dropping. So if you're a buyer right now, you might be thinking, great, let's just wait a little while, buy in the second half of 2024 or maybe wait till 2025 and pick up a great rate on that mortgage. If you're thinking about that right now, please consider this. I was working with buyers, some really well qualified buyers with a large amount of money to put down for 3 and in some cases 6 months during the pandemic housing mania. It genuinely put a strain on some people and the stress was visible. If you can right now identify and buy a home that you're comfortable with, maybe it's a home that you can add equity to along the way so you can really feel like you're winning in the long term, then you should consider doing this. Ask yourself this question: is it going to be more stressful for you to be shopping from the comfort of your couch for refinances in a year or two? Or is it going to be more stressful to compete for parking outside a listing that's only an hour old? If you're a seller, then right now it is still a difficult market to operate in. If you are going to list right now, you have to be conscious about your list price and really prepare your home well for the market. There are some encouraging signs that on the horizon, things are going to turn around and be a little bit more favorable for sellers. But like I said, right now, mortgage rates aren't cheap. They're still 6.75%, even though they have come down quite a lot recently. So you can't necessarily name your terms or just reject offers willy-nilly. But if you are looking at listing right now, it is possible and we can get the job done. Just look at this review that we got from a listing that we sold in December. Phil and his team are the best, professional, responsive, thoughtful, and highly competent. His photographer, his wife, takes excellent photos. Our house was just languishing on the market with another agent, and he got us several offers shortly after taking over our listing. Now let's move on and look at the Spokane market and see how it compares to what's been happening nationally. Sales were down 10.6% year over year, which is worse than the national year over year decrease of 5.2%. But as with national sales, it's far less severe than what we've been seeing the past year, where it wasn't unusual to see 20% declines in terms of home sales here. Home prices are down 1.9% on a year over year basis to $375,000. So home prices in Spokane proving not as resilient as the rest of the nation this month, but it's worth remembering that Spokane is always priced just slightly below the national median, and that's exactly where we are right now. As rates come back down, those home prices are going to shore up and begin to increase again, I have no doubt. Inventory is up dramatically on a percentage basis, but don't read too much into that. We're only at a 2-month supply. So not very impressive inventory across the Spokane MLS there. Remember, inventory is measured at current demand levels. So as that demand picks up, as rates drop, that inventory figure is going to drop too. New listings are up 5.3% on a year-over-year basis, which is a nice healthy increase in the number of new homes available to purchase. I'd like to see more of that, please. You can see that days on market are at 28 days on market. That is a long time to be trying to sell your home and makes things very difficult to coordinate, things like a simultaneous sale and purchase, or just a move of any sort, really. This means that overall, the Spokane market is tracking the national market pretty closely. With the exception of price, we want to focus on that and make sure it doesn't start to head away from what the rest of the nation is doing. But I would say if you're trying to buy or sell in Spokane, you can expect national news media stories to trickle down and impact Spokane just the same way as it would affect everywhere else. Now I wanted to look at a couple of news articles that have stood out to me this month. As always, there's a lot going on, so I will just touch on these articles, and if you want to read them in their entirety, the links to them will be in the description to this video. The biggest piece of news I saw this month was reported by Business Insider. The Federal Reserve will cut rates 6 times in 2024. Now those rate cuts could of course be 0.25% at a time, but they still will add up to hundreds of dollars in the pockets of buyers in terms of their monthly mortgage payment. Next is from Keeping Current Matters. We're going into 2024 with slight home price gains, somewhat easing inventory constraints, slightly increasing transaction volume. All in all, things are looking up for the US housing market in 2024. So overall, some pretty positive news there as it relates to the housing market in 2024. It should be noted though that we are pretty much as low as you can go in terms of home sales, so anything is up from here. Just to emphasize this last point, pending home sales hit their lowest ever recorded numbers in October. So it really is only possible to improve from here. It's still good news though, so let's take it. The last little bit of news I wanted to highlight is something that I've wanted to see for a long time. The House of Representatives introduced a bill to ban hedge funds from owning residential real estate. As you'd imagine, this is something I am in favor of. Buy the mortgages that we have, sell us solar panels, own the utility providers that provide us power, but leave residential real estate alone. That should be considered an untouchable asset class by Wall Street in my view, because it's such an integral part of the American dream. We do not need to become a nation of renters just because BlackRock wants to make a few extra billion this year. And that's coming from someone that's about as free market as it's possible to get. Now for a little bit of Spokane specific news. Spokane is known for its trails and outdoor recreation, so it's great to see the new section of the Children of the Sun Trail opened recently. So when the weather improves, go and check that out. Secondly, the Spokane Airport gained another direct route, this time to Charlotte, North Carolina. That's major news. Every single direct route that opens up commuting possibilities and brings in commerce and enterprise. I say to everyone that I believe Spokane has a very bright future ahead of it in terms of growth, and things like that make that growth possible. Lastly, plans for a new South Hill Home Depot are apparently progressing well. While I live on the South Hill, I will still maintain my loyalty to Ace and Lowe's, but let me know which hardware store you prefer and why in the comments below. At the start of this video, I told you that I had some Spokane landlord-specific news, so let's touch on that briefly. The deadline for registering your rentals within the city of Spokane was December 31st, but from what I've read, the goal is compliance, not penalizing people that missed that deadline. So if you haven't already, go and register your properties. You don't want to have a code violation for having an unregistered rental property within the city of Spokane. That's it for this video. I hoped you gained from this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. That really does help me out. And if you are looking at buying or selling in the Spokane market, please reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, and I'd be honored to connect with you and work with you. Until the next video, my name is Phil Wells, and thank you very much for watching.